حي على الفلاح.
Usually, most people, when they go through like a job loss or poverty or bankruptcy or foreclosure or sickness, loss, basically loss, then they think this is a tough test. But when life is good, you get a job, you get a promotion, you have a lot of savings, business is good, it's growing, the house is paid off, cars have been paid off, etc., etc. When finances are good, you think this is good. That's a test, but this is, I made it, I passed the test. And sometimes in the back of the corrupt mind, because the previous ayah did talk about fasad, that they increase corruption, a kind of corruption that even takes place inside the mind, is that the more you have in this dunya, maybe it's because Allah loves you more. So the more you have is a sign of the more Allah loves you, which is actually a big, big corruption. Allah gave some very, very bad people a lot of wealth. Allah gave Fir'aun a lot. Allah gave Qarun a lot. And Allah, some of these people had a lot of prestige too. They had a lot of prestige. People listened to them. People gave nobility to them. Some of the worst, most humiliated of the kuffar were the leaders of Quraysh. But as far as the Quraysh are concerned, are they humiliated or honorable? They're honorable. But who gave them that prestige and that honor? Allah did too, right? So the same things that you would think are there because Allah blessed me are actually, in the end, what is the reality of them? They are a difficult test. Now what makes this test difficult? The other test is difficult because obviously it's tough on you. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's health, maybe it's loss of family, etc. Those are difficult tests. You know what makes this test difficult? It's very hard to actually realize it's a test. That's what makes this difficult. That's why most people fail this test. That test people fail because of lack of sabr, they can't hold themselves, etc., etc. Or they complain to Allah, or they become ungrateful to Allah. This test because you forget that the fact that it's a test. But now this person, something very strange Allah Azza wa Jal puts in his, tells us that he says, فَيَقُول, then he says, what does he say? رَبِّي أَكْرَمًا. And يَقُول is mudari', it's the present tense form. And before there's a fa, which means as a result of this honoring and these amazing luxuries and amenities and blessings that Allah has showered this person with, he over and over, on occasion, he tends to say. He doesn't say just once. يَقُولُ, it would have been فَقَالَ. In Jumla Shartiyya, you can use Madi and Mudari'. But here, what we find is فَيَقُولُ. In other words, he says on occasion. Every time he finds an occasion, he says something. What does he say? He says, رَبِّي أَكْرَمًا. It is in fact my Lord who has honored me. He's honored me. Now, how many things did Allah do for him? First, note this. How many things did Allah do for him? He gave him prestige, and He showered him in blessings. But when he speaks, what did he speak about? He says, my Lord has honored me. But did he make any mention of the blessings? You see? So the first problem we note is that Allah gave, but he, even on his mouth, didn't even come mention of everything Allah gave. Right? He didn't even acknowledge that Allah has also blessed me with a lot of favor and showered me up with a lot of blessings. All he mentions is this honor is God-given. And in this, there's actually a profound reality that if you study the history of the world, you will find. The most corrupt people that had power in the past, like the runners of false religions and kings, you know what part of their belief was? That God honored them with that power. That they're not in that position for any other reason, but they have divine help. God is on their side somehow. So they considered themselves above the rest of the people because by saying Rabbi Akraman, it's yadullu ala ghayr al-ithbat ala ghayr al-fa'il. My Lord has in fact honored me like He has not honored anyone else. He thinks of me as special. And since I'm special, naturally, as a result, I deserve all these favors. So He doesn't even mention the favors because He feels He's entitled to them. And this actually at the very individual level is a very sick disease. The one who gets so much from Allah starts believing that because Allah has honored him specially, that he's entitled to it. Somehow he's elite over the others. So even though he mentioned his Lord, he said Rabbi, he did mention his Lord, but even the mention of the Lord here is out of arrogance. It's not out of humility. So he says, Rabbi Akraman, oh my Lord has honored me. And now this same person, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ. Why here? This is a continuation. The ataf is a continuation. So it's the same human being. If and when we thoroughly test him again. How do we test him this time? فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ. Actually, I forgot to mention one thing. I'll mention at the end of this ayah for both, because it's the same for both ayah. فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ. Allah Azza wa Jal says, how it's translated is, He restricts the provision from him, or He lessens the provision from him, or He constrains the provision from him. When we test him and we exact the calculation for his provision, in other words, when he loses his wealth, it is part of the rizq of Allah. When he had a lot of money, it was written for him. When he lost most of that money, that was also written for him. Allah didn't take anything away or give anything that wasn't already. إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مِّن قَبْلِ أَن نَبْرَأَهَا, as He says in Surah Al-Hadid. Except that it's already in a book that's already been declared. We've already elaborated, right? So this was part of qadr. Before Allah even tells us what He says, He tells us what we're supposed to be thinking. The rizq that comes our way is not some special exception to the rule. This was written for us, and the rizq that leaves us is also part of what was not written for us. That morsel of food was not meant to go in our mouth. So فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ. That's how Allah says He takes His wealth away. He calculates, He exacts the calculation for him. Now He says, فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانًا. Then He says, it is my Lord who has, and the word ahanan from ihana, which means to actually make an effort to humiliate someone out of animosity against them. So what this person is saying is, my Lord has humiliated me, but in parentheses it means it is because He hates me, or somehow He's so angry at me for something apparently I can't figure out what it is. I don't know why He's doing this to me. That sort of attitude. That entire attitude is captured when He says, ahanan. Similarly, there's a person who's bent upon complaining, Allah has humiliated me. He said, no, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't talk like that about Allah Azza wa Jal. It's a test from, no, I don't know, bro. You don't understand. He's humiliated me. He's made up his mind. This person has made up his mind out of sheer frustration. So what did they associate honor with? When people respect you and when people give you blessings. By the way, the next ayah did not talk about ikram, and it didn't talk about tan'eem. It didn't talk about honoring or giving blessings. It talked about rizq. What we learned from that is, what is our rizq? It's two things. It's all the physical blessings Allah gives us, and also the honor. The respect that people show us is also part of the rizq, is also part of the provision. And so when that is taken away, for this person and the people around him apparently, the only thing that makes you respectable is your wealth. And when you don't have wealth, you're not respectable. So he feels humiliated when he doesn't have wealth. Actually our kids start thinking like that. We're actually starting to train our kids subconsciously even to think like that. So if they dress a certain way, if they don't wear certain brand names, if they wear a certain kind of simple shoe as opposed to an elaborate shoe, if they don't get that book bag that everybody else got, right? If they don't have that video game system, they only have the outdated older one. If you're, I said this last time, if your parents drive an older car, then the teenage kids will ask you to, or even the elementary school, they'll ask you to drop you off around the corner. Like don't drop me off in front of the school, because that's a humiliation. It's a kind of humiliation. Right? What do they associate honor and humiliation with? With what you own. Similarly, I just live in an apartment, I don't own a home. I'm not going to invite anybody because it's so embarrassing.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. If you enjoyed this video, please do share it with friends and family. If you want to see more videos from this series, click on the box at the top. If you want to see other videos, click on the box at the bottom. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks.